Looks like this is a soprano saxophone.
Oh, no.
You may perhaps be more familiar with the larger saxophones or the larger members of the saxophone family, which are generally curved. The soprano is usually straight, like this one, but sometimes curved. But the clarinet, the main difference between the saxophone and the clarinet is that the saxophone, if you look at the saxophone closely, you'll see it kind of slowly flares down and gets bigger at the bottom, like a cone. So it's a cone-shaped body. Whereas the clarinet is almost the same diameter from top to bottom, more like a cylinder. And that's the main difference between the two instruments, and that's what gives them different sounds. You know, saxophone is used commonly in Western music. It can be used in Western classical music, mainly in chamber groups, smaller groups. It's not a standard symphonic instrument, but there are saxophones that are included in some symphonies. It's also used very commonly in jazz and also in popular music. I came at Hindustani music as a jazz musician, and through my interest in improvisation, because jazz is a very improvised music, I got very intrigued by Hindustani music, which is also very much improvised, but it has a very different approach to improvisation. So when I first encountered it, and of course I'll say continuing to this day, I find it a very challenging idiom in which to improvise, because it's a whole different ballgame. It's really a whole different universe from jazz in a way. But of course it shares a lot of things with jazz as well. So what I'd like to do now is just to show you the difference between how I have approached playing Hindustani music on the saxophone and how I play jazz on the saxophone. I'm going to play a short jazz composition. I've decided to play a piece by the legendary saxophonist Charlie Parker, who was one of the innovators who created the bebop Now's the Time, which is based on a blues form. Blues is another different tradition, but the jazz musicians many years ago incorporated the blues form into jazz. So you'll hear sort of an adaptation of the blues form into jazz in this piece. Now's the Time. Thank you very much. And now we are going to return to Indian music, and I'd like to play for you now a Kajri Dun.